The Lord is turning it around for you. I want you to receive this prophetic word. I don't care where you are. I don't care what the situation looks like. The Father says, I'm turning things around for you, things that were out of order, things that were out of alignment. The Father says, I heard your prayers and I saw your tears. And he says, even in the midnight hour, I'm turning things around. He says, don't you become discouraged. Don't you give up right here in the valley. He says, because I'm the God of the hard places and I know how to turn things around. He says, there is not a problem that I can't solve. There is not an issue that I can't bring you through. He says, I'm able to turn it around. I was thinking about the scripture that declares he will perfect those things which concerns me. That's a good God. He says, I'm going to perfect those things which concerns you. He says, when I say I'm going to perfect them, he says, I'm going to make the impossible possible. I'm going to bring it up to standard and up to code. And those things that are out of your control is not out of my hand. And he says, and I'm turning things around. And even though you don't see the manifestation right now, you can trust my track record that there is a turnaround. Somebody just put it at the bottom of the screen. There is a turnaround. God is turning things around on your behalf. Do not grow weary in well doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. There's about to be a turnaround in your life. So the Father says, the Father says, in this moment, he says, be encouraged. He says, because I'm not a liar and I can't fail. He says, in this season, he says, stand still and watch me do it. In this season, don't you be moved to the right or to the left. He says, but remain postured in me. He says, because I'm turning things around on your behalf. Things that you thought that would never move. He says, I'm the God who's able to move mountains. I'm turning things around on your behalf. And the Father says, because I'm turning it, he says, don't you allow the enemy to make you become stressed out. Don't you allow the enemy to make you become fearful and agitated and anxious. He says, but stand still in the midst of it and watch me turn your sorrow into joy. Watch me give you hope for tomorrow. Watch me turn those things that's been stuck, stale and stagnant. He says, I'm turning it. He says, and your job in this moment is just to worship me and stand there as I turn it. He says, worship me. He says, because I've never lost a case. I've never lost a battle. He's the God of the turnaround. And because he's turning, he says, you ain't even got to wait till this thing is over. He says, but you can praise me in the midst of it. You can praise me on the fact that if I said it, I'm able to bring it to pass, because he's the God of the turnaround. And you probably clicked on this video and said, I don't know if this is for me, but here is a clue that this is for you. For the Father says the prayers that you've prayed, even in the last 2 weeks, where you couldn't even get the prayer all the way out because you were just like, God, I'm just at my boiling point. The Father says, I heard you and I'm already turning things in your favor. That's how you know this video is for you, because you're at your breaking point. You're at the point where you say, you know what, God, if you don't fix this, I'm about to take matters into my own hands. If you don't do this, I'm about to come up with a plan B. But the Father says, stand still. He says, because I'm about to turn it in your favor. He says, look for the turnaround. He says, look for my hand. Look for my provision. Look for my favor. He says, because your prayers did not fall to the ground. He says, and because I heard you, he says, I fight for my children. There is about to be a turnaround. He says, because I'm going to perfect those things which concerns you. He says, I really love you, and I'm not going to allow you to go through a season and you not come out with the spoils. I'm not going to allow you to go through a season and you don't come out with the benefits, because there's going to be a turnaround, because I heard your prayers. Stay focused. Stay consistent. Stay anchored. Stay postured, because there's a turnaround coming in your life.